Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight. Welcome to Fireside Chat with Kimberly. Thank you to Rebel Cheese, the sponsor for this week's talks. Prize packs for this month's contest have been graciously donated by Hodo Foods, Crofters Organics, Follow Your Heart, Cinnaholic, Orgain, Revolution Gelato, and Terraseed, and Rebel Cheese. I invite my viewers to enter the monthly contest at virtualvegfest.com and click on the contest tab for details. Entering is super easy just by liking and or subscribing to our social media and Virtual Veg Fest YouTube channel. You're entered to win one of these prizes. We really want you to subscribe, so get over there and do it and tell them I sent you, or don't. I'm not sure. Anyway, welcome. In the never-ending saga of Kimberly, God, it appears as shining upon me. I don't know what's going on there, but I tried to fix it, and this is what we've got. And you know what? That's what it's like being live. So we embrace it and we have fun with it, and it's all a good time. So, welcome, and we're talking about Thanksgiving tonight. I have some questions that I've received that I'm going to answer. And of course, if you have questions, put them in the comments and I will address them live. Uh, and if you don't have, and it doesn't have to be, I always forget to say this at the beginning, it always ends up in the middle of something. If you have a question that is vegan related, but not related to the topic I'm talking about tonight or any other night that you might join me, you are welcome to put that in the comments as well. And I will address that too. But I come here with a topic just in case you don't have any questions. So there we are. So the first question that I got was, can you host a vegan Thanksgiving if the people that are attending are not vegan? My short answer is yes. Uh, the long answer is still yes, but it's one meal, right? And I know that Thanksgiving is so food centered. It's like that's all it's about anymore. It's called Thanksgiving, but how much time do we spend that day talking about what we're thankful for? I mean, I mentioned in my podcast this morning, which was also about Thanksgiving, that when I was a kid, it was just the four of us, my parents, my brother, and I, and we would do, a round the table thing, saying what we were thankful for right before we started eating. But we didn't talk about it the rest of the day. The focus was on the food. Who's making what? Is it done yet? Can we eat yet? What are we eating? Don't ask me to help, or can I help, right? It's all about the food. But the idea behind it, and I have some thoughts around Thanksgiving as a whole, but anyway, um, if since it's so food centered, we can do one of two things. We can continue to make it food centered and be like, we're all going to eat vegan, and here's all this amazing food. You won't even notice that the traditional items that you were expecting aren't here. Hey Diane, thanks for joining. So glad to have you here tonight. And so that's one approach, right? I mean, if you're having people to your home, there's a good chance that they already know that you are vegan. So this won't come as a surprise. However, I would say to let them know ahead of time. And if you have any requirements around food that someone might bring. So, like, I would not want someone bringing animals if I were hosting Thanksgiving. I would not want someone bringing animals as their dish to my home. I would expect that they would just eat what I made. And if it was such a problem, they can eat later when they get home. Because for me, and for I think a lot of people, it's also about coming together and being with the people that you love, especially lately, right? Last year, it was really dangerous for anyone to be together if they weren't already living in the same home. And that was kind of the approach that most people took, is that you stayed away. So this might be the first time you're getting together with your family since 2019. So I would say Host the vegan Thanksgiving because you're at your home. Let people, especially if you know that there's family members who are going to have a problem with it, let them know ahead of time and then advise them, if you want to eat ahead of time or plan to leave at a certain time so you can eat when you get home. Just be open and honest about it. Like there's no reason to be secretive or expect them to or to act like it's such a big deal, because it's not. Like you're still providing them amazing, beautiful, delicious food, and they get to spend time with the people they love. And I mean, what is better than that? So my answer to, do you host a vegan Thanksgiving if you have non-vegans attending? I would say yes. And I know that there are some people, maybe they live with others who are not vegan, then maybe that person is, if you have kind of a relationship established and they are also willing to cook food and they're going to prepare non-vegan options, like, if you're living in a mixed household, vegans and non-vegans, it's something that you have to have a conversation about for sure. So this is where we have to work on our communication skills if we have not had a conversation around that at this point. The second question I received was, what if I'm going to someone's home for Thanksgiving and I don't know if there'll be food for me because I'm vegan? Ask them. Even if it's someone maybe you're not very close to, or maybe you're visiting, you have a new partner and you're visiting their family for the first time, or you've met a couple of times, but it's still very new. Either ask your partner, or if you can reach out to whoever is hosting, ask them or let them know. And my approach has always been that I would bring food. I'll make something and I'll make enough for other people to eat too, just in case. And you know what? If nobody else wants to eat it, that's more for me. But it gives people the opportunity to try something different. It allows the host to not have to make something completely separate. Not everyone has as some might call it, the bandwidth to make separate meals, and or they might just not feel confident in making vegan food. Hey, Richard. Thanks for joining. Glad you're here. So there's a way to do that without offending your host. Some people feel like I can't tell them that I'm not going to eat what they're preparing because it's offensive, but it's not, because we're vegan because we have these beliefs and these values that govern everything that we do in life, right? And people would not, if or there's like requirements of sort, right? We're living underneath this. We're living within this structure, this value structure, and it is, while it's not the same level of danger as say an allergy, it kind of feels that way, right? Emotionally, it's that way, I think. So you wouldn't say to someone like, "Oh, I don't," or even just a, I am all over the place because I have a zillion thoughts to share. So I apologize. Let me take a moment and step back. Like, let's say someone just doesn't like mushrooms. I hate mushrooms. I hope that you're not serving anything with mushrooms. Like, you might be like, "Oh, it's kind of a pain in the ass," but like, you wouldn't. This person really hates mushrooms. You'd make sure at least there was something where it doesn't have mushrooms. So like, hey, I know you said you don't like mushrooms. Here's the mushroom free dish or whatever. So kind of it's the same thing. Like, yeah, you need something different, but it's okay. You're allowed to need something different. You're allowed to ask for something. And I mean, I've always presented it with, like I said, that I would bring something and I would bring enough for if other people wanted to try. Uh, and most of the time, the host is not offended, because I'll say something like, "I know that you're gonna be so busy that day preparing everything else. Allow me to bring something so you don't have to make a separate vegan dish." And a lot of times they're relieved. If they are not vegan or vegetarian themselves, that there's a learning curve. People just, when you're new to veganism, or you're trying to understand veganism, a lot of the thought around food is simply, um, is simply that you just replace. So in the idea of Thanksgiving, you're not having turkey because you don't eat turkey, so you're gonna have a turkey substitute. And then, you're gonna have to still have, like, there's no thinking outside the box at first, right? You just whatever the meat thing is, you gotta replace the meat. And then you have to have, like, a starch and a vegetable, and you build your plate around that. But, like, you don't have to eat that way. Um, that's especially in the US, right? That's kind of how we all grow up. That's the way that we eat, but you don't have to eat that way. And and you don't have to replace the turkey with anything else. So it can be easier on your host. So just reach out to them, and just be kind about it, and don't worry, don't worry. And people are going to ask what you're eating. You might start a conversation. You'll never know the seeds you'll be able to plant. Maybe someone will start wondering about that amazing food that you're eating, and if they try it, then maybe they're like, oh, maybe this isn't a bad idea, let me look more into this. So always go in with an open mind and an open heart, and share as much as you can. Even if it's just the food, even if you don't have a conversation with anyone, you never know. That's always my outlook anyway. Ooh, we got a question from the audience. All right, Richard, what are your Thanksgiving plans? Cooking or going out? So I am cooking food for JP, my husband, and we are going to his sister's house. So she cooks for people, a lot of people. She's got a full day ahead of her. So here's one of those situations where I am bringing food. Um, I haven't always done that. There were years where she did make something. She actually, one year, she made little vegetable pot pies in like these ramekins, and they were adorable and they were really, really good. But I imagine it was a lot of work. So, so this year, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna cook some food. I'm very excited. I'm doing like a culinary class, and so I'm learning a lot of things, and I want to put some of that stuff to the test. And so this gives me the opportunity to do that, and then also kind of show off some more vegan food. Um, they are not vegan, but JP and I have been together like 9 years now, and they like me enough. No, they really love me. Uh, so they've been very accepting and about my veganism, and now JP's veganism for the last 2 years. So this is not a surprise to them at all, and they fully expect that there will be vegan food available should anyone wish to try it. Okay. And then the third question that I got is, what if I don't want to talk about being vegan? How can I avoid it? That is a perfectly valid question. Look, you don't, everyone by being, if you ask me, by being a vegan, you are an activist because you are actively making choices and you're actively spending money in a way that shows companies and the world and the people around you what matters to you. So, no matter what, if that's the only thing you do, you never talk to anyone about being vegan, you're still an activist, as far as I'm concerned. But that doesn't mean that you have to have full on conversations with anybody about being vegan, including when there's food right in front of everyone. So I love Dr. Doug Lisle. He's a psychologist and he's vegan, and he wrote the book, The Pleasure Trap. His thing is, if you, and I think this works really well for plant-based people who are not necessarily vegan, but I think that we can make it apply, especially if you're new to veganism. Maybe you haven't kind of told the world that you're vegan, but you also don't want to eat any animal products this Thanksgiving. You can use kind of Dr. Doug's approach, which is, if someone asks, why are you not eating this? Or what is that you're eating? Or why are you eating that way? Whatever version they choose. You can just say, you know what, I've been talking to my doctor, and I want, we're trying this out. I'm, plant-based or vegan right now, and I just want to see, how it goes. I feel great, but I'm going to see how it goes. So that usually kind of diffuses the situation because, as we know, the word vegan can sometimes trigger people and they get upset, they feel defensive, or they are concerned that because they are not vegan and they are consuming animals right in front of you, that there will be judgment, or that there has to be an argument about it. And when you say something like, I'm just trying it out, I feel pretty good, we'll see where it goes, that can diffuse people. And so and like I said, especially if you're plant-based, where there isn't the ethical portion tied up in it, and you aren't motivated by that, it is, I think, a lot easier to say that. I don't think I could use that as a reason because it just doesn't resonate with me. But I think it's great if you're new and you haven't kind of declared your veganism to the people around you, because that really can kind of just put it, stop it. And especially if you're new too, like even if you want to talk about it and you want to, someone's kind of getting at you and you want to be like, you know what, let me tell you what I know. When we're new to this, we can feel like we don't yet know enough. And so in that scenario, like that's okay too. If you just don't feel like you've got enough of an argument, and just the fact that animals are exploited and cruelly treated is reason enough. But I totally get if someone didn't feel comfortable having that conversation. So that's certainly a way that you can kind of diffuse that. And I mean, I don't know, like my approach is very much just like, I just want you to ask me questions and I will answer you. But like, we've got to stay calm. Like, I'm happy vegan. I love being vegan. It's the most beautiful life I think that anyone can live. And it just brings me so much joy and happiness every single day. And I feel like that comes across a lot. And so at least now, I don't really get a lot of people who are like mad about the fact that I'm vegan or feeling judged and things like that. But when you're new and you want to like shout it from the rooftops, like it can feel a little tense. But really, like, my approach is just let them ask questions, and if you don't know the answer, it's okay. And honestly, I think it would probably diffuse the situation if they asked you a question about veganism, maybe not like why you're vegan, but like, are you sure that this is what really happens, or this is the process, whatever it is they're asking, those types of questions, and you don't know the answer, like you can just say like, I don't know, actually. I'm very new to this and I'm still learning, but how about I find out and I'll let you know. And then you can just send them, once you find out, just send them a link to an article. Like, hey, here's an article about that thing that we talked about on Thanksgiving. And then you don't have to have, a conversation unless you want to. And maybe them by reading that article, then they'll come back with questions instead of like feeling like you're being attacked. I mean, it's okay to not know things. And honestly, when you don't know something, that makes people feel um very often it makes people feel more comfortable. Oh, look at this. Hi, Susan. Look at this. Susan's non vegan family has requested she bring vegan potato salad and black bean brownies. And you know why they're asking that? Because they're amazing and they want them. That's so wonderful, Susan. Yay. So we have to celebrate. Exactly. Take any small win. 10 years Susan's been, working on her family, and all these tiny changes, like they make a difference. Um my dad, he he told me that he's not vegan. My mom is vegan. But my dad eats a lot of the stuff that my mom makes, and he told me the other day that he is going to eat what my mom makes for Thanksgiving. He's not going to have any animal-based items for Thanksgiving. And that's huge. I mean, it's each little bit, like Susan said, small wins, these little changes. As you start to explore the food and you realize that it's really tasty and stuff, it makes it easy um, to incorporate more of that into your life. So what else? What other questions? Oh, I have a comment too. So, put any other questions that you have about Thanksgiving or small wins or, stories, whatever it is you want to share. I was thinking about, and I mentioned this in the podcast. So if you've already listened, forgive me that I'm repeating myself here, but I think it's important. So, the traditional story of Thanksgiving is a lot about celebrating, the Europeans getting here, right? And, oh, Susan, oh, that's sweet. I mean, I'm sorry that he has allergies he has to deal with because that stinks, especially when you're 5, because it's hard to understand why you can't have things, right? But oh, that's wonderful that he's already found brownies that he can eat and that he enjoys. Yay! Give your nephew an extra hug from me. Um, with Thanksgiving, so here's another topic of conversation that maybe you can have is Thanksgiving is a lot about celebrating the Europeans being here and, this story of people coming together. But I just think that maybe we could have like a dish or some way of kind of also celebrating the indigenous people on Thanksgiving. And so my suggestion is to look at where you live and, do some research on any Native American tribes that lived in the area that you live now. Or if you're going somewhere, you're traveling to Thanksgiving, maybe you look at a tribe that lived in that area where you're visiting and like maybe you can kind of talk about that and not again like not from a political, I say again because I mentioned it on the podcast, but not from a political thing to kind of start this that kind of discourse, but just to be like, when back at this time, this Native American tribe lived here, and here's how they lived. Here's some of the things that they ate on a regular basis. And one of the things that was very common among many tribes is a thing called a journey cake, which is bread. And it was very easy to make, very minimal ingredients. Most of them, if you find old recipes, they're completely vegan. And of course, now if you look up a journey cake recipe, they've all added eggs and butter to them, but it's like cornmeal, water, and salt. And maybe you could have that as one of the dishes along with your meal, and then also have that conversation. Here in New Jersey, the Lenni Lenape tribe was had a large presence here in the area where I live, and so I'm gonna look at kind of a traditional dish that they would make, and maybe it'll be a journey cake, maybe it'll be something squash and corn related, but we'll see. So I would love next week if or not next week, the week after Thanksgiving, if you do that, like come back here, let's talk about it. Share in the comments, or if you post pictures on Instagram, you can tag me so I can see what you made. Thanks, Susan. Oh, great. So that you know exactly what to look up if you decide to do that, which group to look up. That's so cool. Thanks. Thanks so much. So, if no one has any other questions, I guess we can end now because I did address the questions I'd received ahead of time. But thank you all for being here. Again, if you and I'll mention this next week too because it'll be before Thanksgiving. But if you're making yummy vegan foods for Thanksgiving, definitely tag me in your pictures so I can see what you guys are eating, and I will be sure to post whatever it is that I make. We can have a conversation about Thanksgiving foods. Uh, that was my like dance about food, I guess. So you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Did You Bring the Hummus? You visit my website. I am doing next week, over the weekend, next weekend, I'm going to do another, I'm going to do a talk about Thanksgiving and being vegan. So it'll be a 2-day thing. We'll be live together. I'll answer your questions. We'll do some homework. It'll be super fun. You'll be ready, completely ready to face whatever comes up on Thanksgiving. You can sign up via the pop up on my website, didyoubringthehummus.com. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I love doing this. It means the world to me to be able to come here and just talk about veganism and share my message and hear your stories and have, a conversation back and forth. Have an amazing week, and I will see you back here on Monday, next Monday. Have a great night. Bye.